Welcome back to Life Tomorrow. I'm Hunter Mulford, and I'm joined by Matt Harrigan, who is the co-founder and managing director of Grand Central Tech, which is New York's flagship technology accelerator. So thank you so much for being with me today.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So what inspired the creation of Grand Central Tech?
Oh, we started Grand Central Tech about 4 years ago because we thought that there needed to be a model for companies that were a bit more sophisticated in nature and no longer willing to give up equity in order to participate in a program. So we did away with the equity requirement, and as a result have been able to attract founders who wouldn't give that up. In today's market, some of the tools and tips on how to be successful in tech are pretty readily available, and that used to be what accelerators really marketed themselves on. Our view is to create a community of incredibly smart and capable founders and surround them with additional resources to help support their success, and that will make for a successful program.
Absolutely, and this is home to over 100 startups. You were briefly mentioning the resources you provide them. Can you expand on when you set up a workspace for them, what do you provide them to aid in their success?
Well, it starts with the space. So here you are in Facebook's old New York City headquarters. This floor alone is 15,000 square feet of space, nice high ceilings, great view. And a lot is gained really from just putting great people under one roof with each other in a curated environment. If you go to a generic co-working space, sure, they're very cool, I've been in them, but they're never curated in the same fashion where every company is picked based on their ability and then introduced to one another to add value to one another. Often when you're trying to find talent, let's say, your best resource for doing that is going to be another company who understands kind of what you're looking for and knows of hidden talent that they can bring to bear for you. So that's the main value really is just the quality of people in the environment and some of the cool spaces we have to situate them in.
Right, and looking behind me, how many startups are here now?
In this space, we have 18 startups this year, selected from a pool of 1,000 applications. So it's a very competitive process to participate in Grand Central Tech, and we're super fortunate to be able to interact with these companies because they're building really brilliant companies.
Great, and it's so great that there's such a collaborative thinking area. And you briefly mentioned just then how selective it is. What is that vetting process like?
It's intensive. It takes about 2 months of the year. The team is dedicated almost exclusively to evaluating companies. We evaluate them on a lot of things. It's a lot to get into here, but one of the things I'd mention is we are looking for really strong engineering talent. A criticism you'll hear about companies in New York is that they're building on top of other technologies. So for example, 2 years ago, famously, LinkedIn turned off its API, and a lot of startups vanished immediately because they were building on top of somebody else's technology. So we look for companies that are building ground-up technology, and that's what you'll find in the companies here today.
So sort of looking forward, you are looking for more in the engineering space.
Always, engineering talent is critical. In terms of having something that is defensible and not reliant on other platforms. You could argue building on top of Facebook right now is a bad idea. You could argue that building a business predicated on how Amazon will treat you is a bad idea, only because those companies are so dominant that it's difficult to control your own destiny, and we want to look for companies that can control their own destiny.
Great, and I also know that you have strong internship programs. How does someone get involved in that, and why do you think it's so important to invest in interns for the future?
So Grand Central Tech is a mission-based organization, which probably isn't true of most accelerators. Our intention is to foster truly excellent companies, and we define that as companies that can be both lucrative but also wholesome, and that care about issues of diversity and inclusivity. So 50% of all companies who have ever been through our accelerator program have been female-founded. And the internship program that we run is expanding actually this year, but we've run it every year since our inception, and we draw in kids from underappreciated backgrounds, let's call it, and give them opportunities with our startups to demonstrate that it's not about what zip code you're from, it's about how hard you're willing to work. This year, we're actually going to be expanding that program substantially and working specifically with CUNY here in the city to get kids who have demonstrated real commitment great opportunities with our startups. So that's how our internship program works.
Amazing. And I know you mentioned that you have a strong presence of female entrepreneurs, who I will be speaking to one later. Can you expand on that? And then also, what do you think would be some of the entrepreneurs' favorite aspects of working in Grand Central Tech and the atmosphere that you've created for them?
Sure. So I think women appreciate the fact that that having a environment that is open and inclusive and supportive has been a core tenet of Grand Central Tech since our inception. So obviously there's a lot of conversation around this issue right now. We've been demonstrating our commitment to this since 2014, since we started. So we're not reacting to a narrative because we have to. We've been, preemptive on this since our beginning. With regard to what I think that they particularly like about the actual physical environment is we've done little things like we have a pump room that women can use who are mothers. And I think that, just taking little discrete steps like that are really demonstrate that we care.
Definitely. And how do you see Grand Central Tech expanding and advancing over the next 5 years and maybe even 10?
Well, we are growing. So Grand Central Tech started out as just the space that you're in right now, which is 15,000 square feet of space. Since then, we are now 100,000 square feet of space. We have 2 additional floors in the building. And the goal is that we select for and work with really great companies. And as they grow, literally, we're able to accommodate them elsewhere in the building. So hence our growth from 15,000 to 100,000 square feet of space. And ideally, in time, we will grow beyond that 100,000 square feet of space, and that's something that we're actually working on putting together right now.
Wow. And okay, so this is sort of a big question, but what is your overall vision for the future of the mission-minded tech in New York City?
I think tech in New York can avoid a lot of the issues that you see regarding tech in San Francisco. And I don't mean to demean San Francisco. It's obviously a great tech sector, but I think that New York is a wonderfully diverse city, just in terms of its population, but also in terms of the sectors that people work in. And that makes for a more enjoyable lifestyle for people who want to build companies in tech, and also for more points of stimulus. There's a line I often use, which is the biggest unicorn in New York in 2016 was a Broadway play called Hamilton, right? And that's a great indicator of how wonderfully multivariate New York City is, whereas some of the other tech sectors around are a little bit more monoculture, and I think that can create problems in and of itself. And so having the diversity of New York is really what I think makes it special, and what I think, if cultivated and supported, will make the tech sector here a net positive instead of feeling like a net negative where it's extracting value from the economy.
Absolutely. So how do people find out more about Grand Central Tech?
Check out our website, which is being updated imminently, so that's exciting. Check it in like a week, grandcentraltech.com. Also follow us on Twitter, at GC Tech. You can find us on Instagram. We're on all the social channels, Facebook. And we also host a number of events in the course of the year, so I encourage people to sign up for our mailing list so that they can participate in our public events.
Can you speak on a few of the events coming up soon?
Sure. We have a super interesting book series that we've been running, and our next event is with a incredible author named Esther Perel. She tends to speak on relationships in general, and interestingly, if you think about it, you spend more time with your coworkers than you do with your spouse, your boyfriend, your girlfriend. So a lot of her thinking, which tends to be dedicated to interpersonal relationships, is actually very applicable for your work relationship. So I think it'll be a very interesting conversation. She's certainly a personality, so should make for some good entertainment.
Well, thank you so much, Matt. It's been such a pleasure. And again, we're reporting live at the Grand Central Tech, and in just a few minutes, I'll be back with some of the entrepreneurs that work here, and we'll see what they've been up to and what their plans are for the future.